All right, let's bring in Adam Hoge out at Halas Hall.
Sorry,
Huge news today with Kyler Gordon being placed on injured reserve. Richard Hightower has already spoken today as well, which is Adam's, I believe, is his best friend as they talk special teams. Good afternoon, Adam Hoge. How are you, sir?
What's up, guys? Yeah, not great news on Kyler Gordon, but sort of what I expected, I think. And we haven't really had any opportunity to get any kind of clarity or details. I don't know why the decision was made to go on IR. Matt Eberflus is not available to the media on Thursdays. And on top of that, defensive coordinator Alan Williams is not in the building today for personal reasons. That's all we know on that one there, too. So even his defensive coordinator not available today. And that move was made after we talked to Richard Hightower and Luke Getsy. So the earliest that Kyler Gordon can return is week 6 against the Vikings. And in the meantime, they got to look at other options. Josh Blackwell's obviously one of those options, but he was on the injury report yesterday, limited with a hamstring issue. So that one's perhaps in doubt. They elevated Greg Stroman Jr. from the practice squad. He's got a lot of experience. He's been in the league since 2018, so that's another option. I'm intrigued by Terrell Smith, who at one point in training camp was seemingly in a one-on-one battle with Tyreek Stevenson for the starting outside corner job. I have to do a little bit more digging on his experience in the slot, but perhaps that's an option. I'm intrigued by that because if they thought that highly of the 5th-round pick that he could be in the mix for the outside corner spot in training camp, if he can contribute and get on the field, perhaps that young rookie makes sense in the meantime with Kyler Gordon out.
I want to get to Luke Getsy in a second here, but can you see any scenario where Tyreek Stevenson moves inside and slides over, plays the slot corner?
I hate that idea. We saw this last year with Kyler Gordon trying to do both spots as a rookie. I would hope the Bears learn their lesson there. I understand it's a different player, but and some players can handle things better than others. But we already know with Tyreek Stevenson, his history of when he was asked at Georgia to play anywhere outside of the outside, he didn't like it. This is the NFL. You do whatever your coaches ask you to do. You get paid to do it. But I don't like that idea at all. I'd rather get creative in either. First of all, I think Jack Sanborn needs to be on the field more. I think because that's an option. I think that gives you perhaps some blitzing opportunities to get home to the quarterback. We've already seen that from Jack Sanborn, his ability to get in the backfield and be used as a pass rusher. And that's not just last season's tape. That goes all the way back to Wisconsin, where he was really good at that. So I'm not saying that you create bad mismatches or put your defense in a bad spot just to be in base more than nickel, but I don't know, a handful of snaps a game where maybe you go base a little bit more. I mean, you got to match up to the defense. If they're in 11 personnel, you got to go nickel. But if there's ever a handful of opportunities where you're sort of in between, get creative. I don't want to move Tyreek Stevenson around. I would keep him there. I'd rather see if Terrell Smith can handle the slot.
Well, you talk about getting creative and not putting your defense in a bad spot, so you're hitting right where I wanted to go with on the defensive side with you. To me, you're putting these corners in a bad spot, even in week 1, and now more so with Kyler Gordon out, if you do not get creative, because the pass rush is not getting home. So, to me, how are we going to get off of this 3rd down? Because from my vantage point, what we saw at camp, Kyler Gordon, who's out now, but Jalen Johnson and Tyreek Stevenson, they can play man coverage. So at some point, does Eberflus and Alan Williams kind of have to let go of this cover 2 base that they have and start getting creative, start getting exotic to give their corners an opportunity to not have to hold on to their receivers for dear life or play in a zone on 3rd and long? Like, to me, that it's a must. You got to let go of this cover 2 until you can get a significant pass rush.
Yeah, I mean, I think a huge departure from their philosophy is just not going to happen. I do think that they mix it up a little bit more than, the Lovie Smith days when the Bears ran this. I do agree that if you got corners that that can press and play man, you should take advantage of that. To me, it's more about just finding a way to get more pressure on the quarterback. To me, it's more about that than anything else. Once you create pressure, you're going to put your secondary in a much better position, not only from a cover standpoint, but also from a break on the football and create takeaways standpoint. You have to get pressure. I know we've spent endless minutes and hours talking about Justin Fields and the offense this week. I still maintain what I said at the start of our postgame show on Sunday. The thing I was most disappointed in and most worried about was the lack of a pass rush. After months and months and months and months and months of talking about this, and them seemingly making upgrades, spending money on Yannick Ngakoue, DeMarcus Walker, and drafting Zach Pickens, drafting Gervon Dexter, using high draft capital on these players to get almost no pressure at all in that game. And we've talked about earlier in the week, less pressures than Jalen Carter got in one game by himself, right? Like, that's got to change. It just absolutely has to change, whether that's the players playing better, the coaches putting those players in a better opportunity to get pressure. They have to find a way to put more pressure on Baker Mayfield this week. To me, defensively, it's all about that. It's all about that. And you just got to do it this week. And if it's still a problem, that's the one thing that I'm just hanging on from this one game, being like I don't want – if we're going to have doom and gloom about Justin Fields, to me it's more like for this defense, if they can't create pressure, it's just going to be a long year. They're going to be a bottom 5-10 defense, and they're not going to come anywhere near that bold prediction I had preseason about being top 5 in takeaways. They have to find a way to create more pressure.
All right, let's go to the other side of the ball. Luke Getsy speaking today. He put a lot of it on execution, judging by what I'm finding on Twitter here. What stood out from the Getsy conversation today, Adam?
Yeah, I think I don't know. It was a weird press conference. I don't want to even say this like it's a bad thing. I don't think it is. But it was just sort of like, I mean, you just wouldn't have known that the Bears had that bad of a game with the way he came in there with his attitude being so positive, which I think is a good thing. I'm not bringing that up as a criticism at all. I just think it was interesting. It didn't feel like one of the many awkward Thursday press conferences I've had with plenty of offensive coordinators throughout the years here at Halas Hall, where you just know that there's a lot of questions and there's not many answers that can be given publicly in front of a microphone where you're not throwing your players under the bus. But yeah, I didn't sense much concern about the scheme. Definitely more about execution. I think a lot of that's fair. But yeah, I don't know that we got any real answers. I will bring up one thing I asked him about, because he brought up, and he seemed a little frustrated that they got called for some of those false starts. I mean, he singled out the Lucas Patrick one where he just didn't snap the ball. That's obviously a false start, illegal snap. You can't do that. But on the other ones where they sort of jumped the snap count, that's what he was saying they did. And sort of seemed to be arguing that shouldn't be a false start, not necessarily by definition, but because teams get away with that all the time. And I followed up right away and said, do you think that was more of an emphasis because of what happened in that Chiefs-Lions game last week, where the right tackle was getting, or was it the left tackle, where Taylor was getting, away with his jumps and false starts all night? And he's like, I didn't really think about that. I'm not sure. And I got to be honest, like, for me, I would, seeing that game Thursday night, I mean, that would have been a point of emphasis for me in Friday's meeting right away. Like, hey, we got to be careful with this, because this was such a big topic last night that you got to expect the referee. And I didn't see enough games around the league to know if they were calling it in other games too. But I just found that interesting, because it did seem like they were calling it a little bit closer in the Bears game, especially the one on the 2-point conversion. I think that might have been Darnell Wright who fired off the ball that they called it on. That one was close enough that I would have let that go if I was a referee. But you know what? By the letter of the law, it probably is a false start.
We've been trying to read through the tea leaves of some of these quotes and these pressers throughout the week between Justin Fields, Matt Eberflus, trying to decipher if the coaches and players are having a disconnect. Today, the press conference wasn't streamed for fans to see, so we only have the quotes to read off of. But Luke Getsy said in regards to DJ Moore's 2 targets in the opener, it was a disappointment, and he said there's a lot of reasons why things happen. Protection could have broken down on a particular play for him. Justin maybe didn't see something in a particular way. There's a lot of things that go into it. We are definitely calling plays for DJ. And for fans, when we read that, we look at that as a shot across the bow to Justin. Is that over-interpreting what he said there?
So this is where I get annoyed as somebody who's in that room asking questions a lot. Okay, do you want him to be honest, or is everything a shot? I'm being serious. Because we want them to answer questions, and we know guys were open. We know DJ Moore was open. We know Justin missed them. So
I think to answer that question, when it's as bad as it was on Sunday, I want to see personal accountability. I don't want to hear Luke Getsy say, if he believes Justin didn't see it a particular way, fine. But I want him to come to the podium and say, I need to do better. I want Justin to not say, oh, well, Getsy's got to call the plays better. He needs to walk to the podium and say, I need to do better. I don't want the finger pointing. They can deal with that in their own room, but I want, when they're at the podium, I want to hear personal accountability as a fan.
So in essence, you want them to lie.
It just, yeah, go ahead.
But that's where I'm like, to me, it's a lose-lose for Getsy, because if he gets asked about Justin missing wide receivers and he dodges the question or doesn't admit to the fact that his quarterback did that, which we all know he did, then he's either dodging the question, not holding his player accountable, right? Or the other option is to just say the truth, and now he's throwing his player under the bus. And that's that. Sometimes I wish we could just here's a question, here's an honest answer. Nobody's throwing anybody under the bus. It's just what happened.
That's fair.
And the player understands it because it's the same conversations they have in those meetings. You don't think they threw those plays up on the screen this week and said, Justin, you got to make this throw? They damn sure did. So, and I would hope from the coach's side, to your point, Braggs, that he also put plays up and said, this wasn't a great call in this situation. I got to be better too. I'm imagining that all that, I'm not imagining, I'm almost 95% sure that that's what's going on in those team meetings. And if it's not, then that's a huge problem. But so then I hope that they can come to the press conference too and answer these questions honestly without it being interpreted by everybody like, oh, this player is taking a shot at his coach and this coach is taking a shot at his player. No, they're just answering questions.
Hoge's with us from Halas Hall right now. Luke Getsy speaking today. So was Richard Hightower. Alan Williams has had personal issues, so he did not do his normal Thursday press conference. Was he asked about the 3rd and 1 and Cole Kmet?
3rd and 1, Cole Kmet.
The sneak in the first offensive
series.
series.
You know what? I don't think that came up today. That's probably a bad job by us. Yeah, I don't think that came up today.
So he wasn't asked about his. That's interesting. All right. He's got one quote here. Let me just read it. Getsy.
I maintain that wasn't a bad call.
Okay. We could quibble about that offline.
I'd rather have my big tight end in there than my quarterback. What I would like to see off of that, and I would like to be able to trust my offensive line to get 1 yard in that situation on 2 plays, which they couldn't even get 6 inches. What I'd like to see, though, is an option where, and it's got to be made. Now you're talking a lot of trust being put in a tight end instead of a quarterback. But if Kmet comes under center there and he sees the defense squeeze in like they did, pitch the ball out to Justin. Now, that, if I'm remembering right, and I forgot to look this up, I was going to go back on the tape. Did they not run that against the Detroit Lions in Detroit last year?
That sounds right.
Maybe I'm just imagining it. I'm pretty sure there was a play.
There was the play where Cole pitched it to Justin.
Yes. Cole pitched it to Justin to the left, and Justin picked up like 20 yards.
So, and that's the last game. If that was against the Lions, which I'm pretty sure it was because I am remembering this from the press box, and I was in Detroit for that game. That's the last game Justin played in. So maybe they were hoping that, okay, Packers are going to be ready for that. He comes under center. They're not going to squeeze in like they did. And you know what? Good job by sometimes that happens. I'm not trying to make excuses for Getsy, but I honestly do not hate that call. And they're probably trying to play off of that play from last year where they did pitch it to Justin. And the Packers did a good job at defending it. Now what I would like to see if I'm the offensive coordinator saying, okay, we have this in the playbook. Well, next time, if they squeeze in, you pitch it. You have the option to pitch it because that would have worked there. He would have, and it may have even been a touchdown because he would have had that much room to run. I know everyone's saying, why not run the Eagles play where they just push them? That's a different call on fourth down. I agree. If Justin's going to sneak it on that fourth down call, that should have been the call. But when you have Justin Fields and you have what we saw last year against the Lions where they did pitch it to Justin, I do not hate the idea of Cole Kmet coming under center there. Get a push or come up with an option where you can pitch it back if the defense squeezes like they did.
We're gonna move on this one because we could debate it all day, but
I hated the call, and I hate you for liking the call. No, I'm kidding. I love it.
Just remember that Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kind of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. I feel like this is a good moment for this. We all need to chill out and have some Sunnyside on that play. No matter where you are in your cannabis journey, easy online ordering and in-store pickup is available for you. They've got a great transparent loyalty program, Sunnyside Rewards. You know, you buy their Mindy's, you buy their Good News, you buy their Cresco, you buy their High Supply, start building up the points, start getting all sorts of values. That's a sweet thing. Through October 15th, head to sunnyside.shop. Use that code CHGO25 at checkout, and you get 25% off your total order. One use per customer, not stackable with other promotions. It's not only for new customers. Anyone can use our code. Pick up everything you need to elevate your football season. You do have to be 21 or over or an Illinois Med card holder.
Sorry.
Adam, do you think that the offense is going to look a lot different this week listening to Luke Getsy today, which sounds like, judging by his words, that's not the case. So maybe it's just an opinion based on how miserable things went in week one.
Do I think they're going to come out and look as drastically different as they did last year on Monday Night Football against the Patriots after that mini-bye? No, I don't. Do I expect more wrinkles? Do I expect them to run Justin more? They should. Okay? Go watch the Browns game. Okay? They weren't afraid to run a QB draw with Deshaun Watson in the red zone. Like, it's just about picking your spots. No one's saying here run Justin 20 times a game, but you got to have that in there. And it's got to come before the garbage time in the fourth quarter. So I do expect there to be, a concerted effort to get the ball to DJ Moore. And if there's not at least 2 or 3 design runs for Justin Fields in this football game, I will come on the show post-game and just start firing away even more than I did last week.
I mean, to me, the revelation that I came to with looking forward to Tampa Bay is that they're a heavy blitzing team. Todd Bowles is going to bring the heat just like he did last week against Kirk Cousins. And so that equals probably a very similar game plan that the Bears ran week one. The one way to stymie a blitz is running an effective screen game. So is the hope that they execute this better? Because it almost seems it's unavoidable that they're going to have to get the ball out quick and run screens to try to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think people need to go back and really count the amount of screens. It wasn't nearly as much as
it felt like 20.
I know it did because they weren't working. But they could have worked if Robert Tonyan doesn't completely miss a block, if Chase Claypool tries at all. So, and it's a part of the playbook so you can't just get away from it completely. I would make personnel changes. I would have Velus Jones active. I think he's better in the return game. We heard Hightower talk today about the big long punt to the punt return that Jaden Reed had, that the Gunners didn't get downfield well enough. And I went back and looked at it after the play, and he's right. Well, guess who's a good gunner? Velus Jones is a good gunner. So that's another area where that can help you. Now, Kari Blasingame also failed to keep contain on that, and they weren't all in their lane, so that's got to be better too. But I would make a couple personnel decisions that are different. I would tweak, like I said, put Justin in a position to run a little bit more and take a couple more concerted shots downfield. Now all of a sudden we're talking 10 to 15 snaps. Like that ends up being a big part of your entire playbook for the entire day, just changing that percentage. And I think you can still do that against this Bucs team.
Well, Daniel Trump makes a good point in the chat. Blitz plus man coverage equals, Justin good against man. So I like the idea of that too. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I just one super chat about just from George Bayless.
Hey, Carm, since I tried to text you this, but now I got to just tell you on the air, but I got to go.
I was just looking for the text from you a second ago.
It's all good. Other people need this room, so I got to run.
All
but
all right, brother.
Appreciate it. And Braggs, it's going to be okay, buddy.
We'll see you Sunday.
We'll see you pregame 11.
I'm ready. I'm over it. I'm not crying anymore.
See you, Adam. Adam Hoge out at
Halas Hall.
No one believes you.